Good evening, YouTube, and welcome back to another episode here of WILDMAN Lives. I'm your host, WILDMAN. Now on today's episode, I'm working out in the backyard in the bullpen. That's what I call my outdoor gym. I'm going to be doing some bench press with the chains and a lot of farmer walks with very heavy kettlebells. But as I'm doing that, I'm also going to be discussing a recent rivalry that's happening in Strongman. And if you haven't heard about it, that's cool, because a lot of people haven't heard about it because Strongman really isn't that popular. But in my world, it's very popular and a lot of juicy gossip. So let's pop in today's workout, and we're going to see what that's about, and we're also going to see what the workout's about. Now, before we get to the hot and trendy gossip for today's hour, I'm going to go over the workout. So today's workout is going to be the bench press. And I've added those chains, and they're 45 pounds in total weight. So that's going to be a lot lighter on the bottom and heavier on the top. And that's the concept for today's bench pressing. And as I'm going up in weight, I'm going to keep this the same weight during the strength giant set. They are 106 pounds each, and they're kettlebells. And I'm just going to farmer carry them across the bullpen as such. And that's really the only two movements I'm going to do for today. And that is going to be the strength giant set for the day. So there are two guys in Strongman right now, in professional Strongman, that are beefing right now. Their names are Hafthor Bjornsson and Mitchell Hooper. Hafthor Bjornsson's from Iceland, and he's been around for a very long time in the world of Strongman. He also played the character, the Mountain, in the TV series Game of Thrones. That's probably how most people have heard of him. But another reason people have heard of him is because he's actually broken the deadlift world record. And not only has he done it once, he's actually done it 3 times, broken his own record 3 times. That's very impressive. Now, Mitchell Hooper, he's a younger guy in the sport. He hasn't been around that long, but he's already won a World Strongest Man Championship, and he's also won a lot of other big strongman shows. I also believe he broke the world record for the axle clean and press, which is not an easy thing to do. Trust me, that is a very impressive feat of strength, especially for a guy his size, because he weighs just above 300 pounds, whereas Hafthor Bjornsson weighs 450 pounds. Now, Hafthor actually retired and has been focusing on many other avenues in his career, but he recently just came back to Strongman. And coming up in Vegas in May, there's going to be an enhanced sports show where athletes that are on performance-enhanced drugs, or they're allowed to be on performance-enhanced drugs or PEDs, they're all going to compete in Las Vegas. And Hafthor Bjornsson is going to be there, and he wants to break the world record for the 4th time. Now he's looking to pull 515 kilograms, which is just absolutely insane. And he's the only guy on the planet that could do this. So I'm very grateful that he's making an entire show out of it. But Mitchell Hooper has been stepping up and saying that he's going to take on Thor and that he's going to beat him. And they've been doing a tally online where it's how many big lifts each performer has done. And it's like Hafthor 5, Mitchell Hooper 0. That's what he'll post on his big lifts. And then Mitchell Hooper will do some lifts that Hafthor couldn't lift, and he'll be like Mitchell Hooper 5, Hafthor 0. And why are these two actually doing this? Well, I think they're actually pretty good friends, and I think they have a mutual respect for each other, but I think they're just doing it to build some hype. Hafthor did this with Eddie Hall when they were going to get their boxing match on. He started a very big beef with Eddie Hall, and they were going back and forth talking mad trash to each other for about 2 years. Now, the truth was they actually did not like each other very much, but they respect each other professionally. But I think they mainly hyped up their beef to try to get more people to watch their boxing match. And that's essentially what's happening here. They know that Hafthor is a big name and that breaking a world record at Las Vegas is going to bring in a lot of people. But if they bring in another young, big name in Strongman who's saying he's going to come after Hafthor, and now they're beefing online, that just also drives up the ticket prices and the attendance. But it is beneficial for me as a Strongman spectator to watch these two go back and forth, because they've been posting a lot of their big lifts online, calling each other out. And for me, that's what I enjoy watching.
So if you have been paying attention to the workout, you'll see that I did one set with 360 pounds total, and now I'm doing a second set. And you can see that I'm mainly just trying to practice the technique, but I'm also just trying to overload this movement because the chains really works the triceps at that top portion, and that's what I need to work on is the lockout portion. So this is my final set. So 3 reps total. Gets a little wonky there because my triceps are getting super tired and your triceps have to take over and finish that lift. So that's why I was doing that. Then it was time to move on to the incline bench press. Then I immediately moved on to the variation giant set, which is going to be 3 rounds. And the idea was to work up to a 6 rep max, or at least try to get close, but I'm making bigger jumps. Normally I take smaller jumps than this, and I usually work up to 255 pounds, especially after some heavy volume sets on the strength giant set, but I didn't care today because I'm just a G like that. So I was making huge jumps, and now I'm doing 275 pounds, and I wasn't able to do 6. I was only able to do 3, but that's okay. The idea was once it got slow right here, then I just put the barbell back and I'm done. But as I was going up in weight, I was doing with the same weight the whole entire time, 176 pound kettlebells in each hand for a total of 352 pounds. And I was just moving in a triangular fashion like this. Since the handles on the kettlebell, and because they're fatter in size, it's a lot harder to farmer walk these than like with a trap bar. Keeps bumping into your leg, and those handles keep wanting to slip out of your hands. Now for the assistance giant set, I was only doing 2 rounds, and now I'm taking those 203 pound kettlebells, so 406 pounds total weight, and I'm trying to walk it a much shorter distance now. But you can see it's bouncing into my legs. That thing is so fat and the handles are so thick, really difficult to hang on to. And I haven't done this in a while, so I had to get back into the practice of it. And I'll show you a trick to that later. But once I was done walking it in between the rounds, then I would then use those handles and I would do some push-ups on them. Now I'm at a decline position. So I did a flat bench press, an incline bench press, and now I'm doing like a decline push-up with those handles. And it does wiggle a little bit because they're not steady. Now here's a fix to those handles. I just added some chalk, which is something I haven't done in a very long time. Really haven't needed the purpose to do it because my grip has been pretty good up to this point. When I trained on these frequently, I did have to put chalk on. So I got my chalk out, I chalked up my hands, chalked up the handles, and now this is a lot easier to grip because now there's some traction there that my hands can get around the bar and carry it. And then again, I would just immediately take off my belt in a Superman fashion, and then I would just bust out some push-ups. Just trying to finish off the chest from I've already worked, but that decline position adds a new stimuli. And then for the accessory giant set, I was doing 3 rounds. Now I'm just trying to burn out everything that I work. So my triceps took a beating. So I'm doing some really heavy braided band tricep push downs in order to finish off those triceps. Then I immediately move into some pec flies with that same braided band. It was the right amount of resistance in order to get a really good pump to the chest. Make sure that I'm finishing off the chest that I just worked. And then of course face pulls, because you know that I love face pulls. Face pulls is the way to keep your shoulders nice and steady and healthy during a lot of pressing movements.
Alrighty, so that concludes it for this evening's workout. Hope that everybody got their fill of gossip and that they learned something new while doing my workout. And I'll see you next time. Thank you.